He ran for 2,003 yards in just 14 games, rewriting football history. He stood before America as the golden icon, until his name became inseparable from the most divisive murder trial ever televised. How could one man become both an unrivaled sports legend and the nation's greatest cautionary tale? To understand why there will never be another O.J. Simpson, you have to start at the beginning. O.J. Simpson's childhood in San Francisco's Potrero Terrace projects was defined by struggle from the start. His mother, Eunice, worked long hours at San Francisco General Hospital, supporting 4 children alone after his father left the family. Money was tight, but hardship ran deeper than empty cupboards. As a boy, O.J. suffered from rickets, a disease born of poverty and poor nutrition. Homemade leg braces twisted his small legs, earning him the nickname Pencil Pins from neighborhood kids. He moved through the streets with a limp, taunted by classmates, his body marked by the city's neglect. In the shadow of the Bay Bridge, the Potrero projects offered little in the way of safety. By his early teens, O.J. was running with the Persian Warriors, a local gang that blurred the line between social club and petty criminals. The group stole meat from trucks, started fights, and saw the inside of police cars more than once. O.J. was arrested at least 3 times before his 16th birthday, spending nights in juvenile detention and returning home to his mother's silent disappointment. He was suspended from Galileo High School 5 times, drifting further from any sense of direction. The neighborhood ran on a code of tough love. Neighbors watched each other's children, quick with discipline, but not always with hope. O.J. was restless, charismatic, a natural leader even then, but his energy was spent on the wrong pursuits. Teachers and counselors saw a kid with raw talent and no outlet, a boy who could have gone either way. A turning point arrived in 1962, after yet another scrape with the law. A counselor named Lefty Gordon, a fixture at the Booker T. Washington Community Center, decided O.J. needed more than a lecture. He arranged a meeting with Willie Mays, the legendary Giants outfielder. For O.J., Mays was more than a sports hero. He was living proof that greatness could come from the same city blocks. The meeting was not a sermon. Mays talked about hard work, about making choices, about the reality of black success in America. He told O.J. that talent alone meant nothing without discipline, that the world would not hand him anything. Something in that conversation stuck. In the months that followed, teachers noticed a change. O.J. started showing up to class. He spent more time at the recreation center, less on the street. He began to channel his energy into football, running track, and building the foundation for what would come next. The scars of his childhood never disappeared, but the encounter with Mays and the steady guidance from Lefty Gordon offered a glimpse of another life, one where his speed and strength could be more than just survival tools. The journey from Potrero Hill to national stardom began with that first hard pivot away from trouble, fueled by the memory of leg braces and the words of a man who had already made it out. At City College of San Francisco, O.J. Simpson was unstoppable, rushing 2,500 yards and scoring 54 touchdowns in just 2 seasons. Defenders barely touched him. He averaged almost 10 yards on every carry, turning routine plays into highlight reels. The only real setback came against Laney College, a loss that haunted him long after the final whistle. But each week, his legend grew, and it was clear junior college could not contain him. USC offered a bigger stage, and Simpson seized it. Track coaches clocked his speed as world-class, and he helped set a world record in the 4x110 relay. On the football field, he became John McKay's main weapon. In 1967, he tore through Texas, Michigan State, and Oregon, dropping jaws with every run. The defining moment came against UCLA late in the game, when Simpson took a handoff, cut outside, and sprinted 64 yards to the end zone. That single play clinched a Rose Bowl berth and turned him into a mythic figure overnight. The next season, Simpson carried the ball more than anyone before, shattering records for workload and touchdowns. He won the Heisman Trophy by the largest margin ever, and his number 32 jersey was retired before he had even left campus. By the time he graduated, Simpson was more than a football player. He was a phenomenon, drawing crowds and attention wherever he went. Buffalo made him the first pick in the 1969 NFL Draft, and his contract made headlines. But the NFL was a different world. Under coach John Rauch, Simpson was used as a decoy, a blocker, even a receiver, and he was rarely the featured back. His first 3 seasons averaged just over 600 rushing yards, and frustration simmered. Simpson called it a waste of his prime, and fans questioned if his college magic would ever translate. Everything changed in 1972 when Lou Saban took over as head coach. Saban promised to build the offense around Simpson and delivered. The Bills switched to a 2 tight end I formation, letting Simpson run behind a line soon known as the Electric Company. Guards Joe DeLamielleure and Reggie McKenzie, along with fullback Jim Braxton, cleared the way. Their motto was that they turn on the juice. The results were immediate. Simpson won his first rushing title in 1972, but 1973 rewrote the record books. He opened with 250 yards against New England and kept climbing. By season's end, he had rushed for 2,003 yards in just 14 games, the first player to ever break 2,000. His 143.1 yards per game average remains an NFL record. He finished with 6 200-yard games in his career, 3 in that single season. Simpson's runs became must-see television, and his name became synonymous with greatness. By the mid-1970s, O.J. Simpson was more than an athlete. He was a national legend, his records and charisma setting a new standard for stardom. In 1975, a new kind of American celebrity stepped onto millions of television screens. O.J. Simpson, already a football legend, became the face of Hertz Rent-A-Car. The campaign, crafted by BBDO's top strategists, did not just sell rental cars. It sold the idea of speed, reliability, and trust, all wrapped up in Simpson's effortless charm. In the commercials, he dashed through airports in a business suit, hurdling luggage and gliding past travelers, always smiling, always in control. The tagline, "The superstar in Rent-A-Car," stuck. Hertz executives watched the numbers. Within months of the campaign's launch, brand awareness soared and rental bookings jumped. Internal memos credited Simpson's universal appeal with a measurable bump in quarterly sales. Focus groups reported that viewers liked him not just as an athlete, but as someone they would trust with their vacation plans or business trips. He was a black man at the center of mainstream advertising, yet the ads sidestepped race entirely. BBDO's own research described Simpson as race neutral, a rare figure who could cross every demographic line without controversy. For corporate America, he was the perfect pitchman, safe, likable, and above all, profitable. Simpson's image appeared on billboards, in print ads, and during primetime. Hertz was not alone. Tree Sweet Orange Juice, Wilson Sporting Goods, Schick Razors, and Pioneer Chicken all signed him, eager to borrow some of that crossover magic. Each endorsement reinforced the same message. O.J. Simpson was more than a football player. He was a brand, a symbol of American success, and a template for the modern athlete endorser. The business world had found its new superstar, and for a brief, shining moment, it seemed like everyone wanted to be in on the run. Simpson's final years in the NFL played out under the harsh glare of decline. Traded to the San Francisco 49ers in 1978, he was no longer the unstoppable force of Buffalo. Chronic knee pain and arthritis slowed him, robbing his runs of their old electricity. In 1979, he played 13 games, but managed just 460 rushing yards, averaging less than 4 yards per carry, a shadow of the records he once set. The 49ers finished that year with just 2 wins, and for the first time, the cheers felt distant. Off the field, the pain cut deeper. In August of 1979, his youngest daughter Erin, just shy of her 2nd birthday, slipped into the family pool. She was found unconscious, kept alive on life support for nearly a week, but never woke up. On August 26, 1979, doctors removed her from the machines. Simpson and his first wife, Marguerite, had already separated, but the loss left a wound that never fully healed. Friends and family remember those days as a kind of quiet unraveling, a grief that lingered even as the world kept moving. Retirement came soon after. Simpson was inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame in 1985, celebrated by peers and sports writers as one of the all-time greats. But the spotlight never left him. He moved effortlessly into television, becoming a regular analyst for NBC's NFL broadcasts and a familiar face on Monday Night Football. Hollywood called too. He had roles in Roots, Capricorn 1, and the disaster epic, The Towering Inferno. Later, he found a new audience with comedies like The Naked Gun. From the outside, it looked like a perfect transition. Sports hero turned media star, living in Brentwood with his new wife, Nicole Brown. But beneath the surface, cracks were forming. The old injuries, the grief, the pressure to keep performing for the cameras, each left its mark, hidden behind the polished smile and the easy charm that had always come so naturally. June 12, 1994, began like any other Sunday in Brentwood. But by nightfall, 2 lives had been cut short in a way that stunned the nation. At 9:36 p.m., Nicole Brown Simpson and Ronald Goldman were attacked outside Nicole's townhouse on South Bundy Drive. The violence was immediate and overwhelming. Multiple stab wounds, defensive injuries, a scene soaked in blood. Nicole was found near the front steps, nearly decapitated. Goldman, just feet away, had fought back but stood no chance. There was no murder weapon, only a trail of blood, a single glove, and a white Akita dog pacing the sidewalk, its paws stained red. The first police arrived just after midnight. They followed the dog to the bodies and called in detectives. By dawn, the investigation had already reached O.J. Simpson's estate. Detectives found a white Ford Bronco with blood on the door and a matching glove behind the guest house. Simpson, out of town on a late flight to Chicago, returned to Los Angeles that afternoon. Police noted a cut on his hand. He gave a statement, provided blood samples, and then walked free. But the evidence was mounting, and the city buzzed with rumor and fear. On June 17, Simpson was charged with double homicide. He failed to surrender as promised. Instead, the afternoon brought chaos. Simpson had vanished. His friend, A.C. Cowlings, was soon spotted behind the wheel of a white Bronco, O.J. in the back seat with a gun to his head. The chase unfolded live on television. Helicopters circling as the Bronco crawled up Interstate 405. People lined overpasses, waving signs, and shouting support or disbelief. Networks interrupted the NBA Finals, splitting screens between the game and the chase. An estimated 95 million Americans watched as police negotiated, pleaded, and waited. Just before 9 p.m., the Bronco pulled into Simpson's driveway. After a tense standoff, he surrendered. In a single night, a private tragedy had become a national obsession. The trial of O.J. Simpson unfolded as a collision between forensic science and the deep mistrust of Los Angeles policing. Prosecutors laid out a mountain of physical evidence. Blood drops at the Bundy crime scene matched Simpson's DNA, with odds of 1 in 170 million. Both gloves, one left at Nicole Brown Simpson's townhouse and the other behind Simpson's guest house, carried blood from Simpson, Nicole Brown, and Ron Goldman. DNA from the Bronco interior, from the driveway, and from a pair of socks in Simpson's bedroom all pointed to the same 3 people. The prosecution called experts who testified that the probability of an unrelated African American matching all the DNA markers found on the gloves was 1 in 21 billion. But the Diefts, led by Johnnie Cochran, turned the focus away from genetics and toward the Los Angeles Police Department. They challenged the integrity of the evidence, pointing to investigator Mark Fuhrman's racist language and the possibility of evidence contamination or planting. The Dream Team's strategy was to make the jury doubt not just what the evidence showed, but whether it could be trusted at all. When Simpson struggled to pull the bloody glove over a latex-covered hand, Cochran seized the moment. His line, "If it does not fit, you must acquit," became a national refrain. On October 3, 1995, the jury delivered its verdict: not guilty. The reaction outside the courtroom split along racial lines. Gallup polling that week found 80% of Black Americans agreed with the acquittal, compared to 25% of white Americans. The case had become more than a question of guilt or innocence. It was a mirror for America's deepest divides. The criminal acquittal did not end O.J. Simpson's legal battles. In 1997, a civil jury found him liable for the wrongful deaths of Nicole Brown Simpson and Ronald Goldman. The court ordered Simpson to pay $33.5 million in damages to the victims' families. Fred Goldman, Ron's father, became the face of a relentless pursuit, tracking Simpson's assets, winning rights to his Heisman Trophy, and eventually controlling the profits from Simpson's book, If I Did It. The judgment followed Simpson for decades, with interest mounting and collectors chasing every dollar. A decade later, Simpson's troubles deepened. In 2007, he led a group into a Las Vegas hotel room, attempting to reclaim sports memorabilia he said was stolen. The confrontation turned armed and chaotic. Nevada prosecutors charged Simpson with multiple felonies, including armed robbery and kidnapping. In 2008, a jury found him guilty on all counts. The judge handed down a 33-year sentence, with a minimum of 9 years before parole, ironically almost the same number as the civil judgment. Simpson served nearly 9 years at Lovelock Correctional Center before being granted parole in 2017. By then, public opinion had shifted. Polls showed that belief in his innocence, once split along racial lines, had narrowed. Simpson lived his final years in Las Vegas, mostly out of the spotlight, his social media presence a faint echo of former fame. On April 10, 2024, Simpson died after a reported battle with cancer. The news reignited debate. Fred Goldman called for remembrance of the victims, not the celebrity. The Pro Football Hall of Fame issued a brief statement noting its policy that once inducted, a bust remains forever. No mechanism exists for removal, no matter the controversy. The NFL, the Heisman Trust, and other institutions responded with formal, football-only acknowledgments, while the teams most linked to Simpson, USC, the Bills, and the 49ers, remained silent. His legacy remains unsettled, a permanent contradiction between record books and court records. No athlete since has captured both the nation's adoration and suspicion so completely. Today, with every scandal dissected in real time and every hero scrutinized, the space for myth and for unchecked downfall has vanished. O.J. Simpson's legacy endures as a mirror, reflecting how we choose our idols and how we reckon with their shadows. What we see now says as much about us as about him.